like smoke-borne serpents, weaving between the pillars of ancient oak, wrapping around the chandeliers that drip with crystals worth more than most villages. The scent is intoxicating, sandalwood and myrrh, moonflower, and something darker, something primal that speaks to the wolf inside every person here. Every person except me. Because I don't have a wolf. I am Kendra, half-blood, packless, powerless in a room full of the most powerful beings in our world. The ceremony is magnificent.
I have to give them that.
The elite werewolf clans have spared no expense in this display of dominance and tradition. The floor beneath my feet is polished marble, so smooth it reflects the candlelight like a mirror to another world. The walls are hung with tapestries depicting the great battles, the legendary matings, the moments that shaped the history of our kind. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, there are wolves. Not actual wolves, but werewolves in their human forms, dressed in silks and velvets, adorned with jewels and marks of rank that proclaim their status to anyone with eyes to see. I feel small here. Insignificant. Like a single drop of water in an ocean that doesn't even notice I exist. My dress is simple, a deep green that Mira insisted brought out my eyes, but compared to the gowns around me, it might as well be burlap. These women, these daughters of alpha families, they wear their power like a second skin. Their dresses shimmer with threads of silver and gold. Their jewelry catches the light and throws it back in dazzling arrays. Their confidence radiates from them in waves that make the very air shimmer. And here I stand, clutching the pendant my grandmother gave me, the only thing of value I've ever owned. It's old, this pendant. Ancient, really. A silver disc etched with symbols I've never been able to decipher, hanging from a chain that is tarnished with age despite my best efforts to keep it clean. My grandmother pressed it into my palm the night before she died, her eyes fierce despite the illness that was consuming her. "This is your legacy," she whispered. "When the time comes, you'll understand." I never did understand. Not really. But I wear it anyway, because it's the only connection I have to a lineage I've never fully known, to a power I've never been able to access, to a part of myself that remains forever out of reach. The ceremony continues around me, a spectacle of tradition and power that I'm observing as an outsider looking in. Mira begged me to come. My childhood friend, the one person who has never treated me like I'm less than whole, who has never looked at my lack of shifting ability with pity or contempt. She needed moral support, she said. She was being presented at the ceremony, and the thought of facing all these powerful families alone terrified her. So I came. For her. Because that's what friends do, even when every instinct screams at them to stay home, to stay safe, to avoid places where they so clearly don't belong. But I'm tired. So incredibly tired. I spent all last night helping Mira prepare, fixing her hair, adjusting her dress, listening to her nervous chatter about which alpha sons might choose her, which families might see her as a worthy mate. I barely slept, and now, standing in this hall full of strangers, surrounded by power I can't touch and traditions I'm not part of, exhaustion is crashing over me in waves. My eyelids feel heavy. The incense isn't helping, it's making everything feel dreamlike, distant, unreal. The ceremonial chanting has a rhythm to it that's almost hypnotic. The candlelight flickers in patterns that my exhausted brain tries to follow. I tell myself I'll just close my eyes for a moment. Just one moment. Just to rest them. The world goes dark. And when I open my eyes again, everything has changed. I'm no longer standing in the ceremonial hall. The incense is gone. The chanting has stopped. The press of bodies and the weight of judgment have vanished. Instead, I'm lying down, cradled in arms that feel impossibly strong, in a room I've never seen before. Moonlight streams through windows that stretch from floor to ceiling, illuminating a chamber so vast and luxurious it makes the ceremonial hall look modest in comparison. Panic explodes through me like lightning. My heart hammers against my ribs. My breath comes in short, sharp gasps.
Where am I?
How did I get here? What happened to the ceremony, to Mira, to everything I knew just moments ago? And then I look up. The man holding me is not just any man. He can't be. Everything about him radiates power in a way that makes the elite wolves at the ceremony look like children playing at authority. His hair is silver, not the silver of age, but the silver of moonlight made solid, of winter frost given form. It falls past his shoulders in waves that catch the light and seem to glow from within. His face is carved from aristocratic lines, all sharp cheekbones and strong jaw, but it's his eyes that stop my breath entirely. Storm cloud gray.
Piercing.
Ancient. Eyes that have seen centuries pass, that have witnessed the rise and fall of kingdoms, that hold a weight of knowledge and power and loneliness, so profound it makes my chest ache just to look into them. These are the eyes of someone who has stood alone at the peak of power for so long he's forgotten what it means to be anything else. This is Eldric, the Alpha King, the sovereign ruler of all werewolf clans, the most powerful being in our entire world. And I am in his arms. I freeze. Every muscle in my body locks up with a terror so pure, it's almost transcendent. This can't be happening. This isn't real. It's some kind of mistake, some terrible error that I need to correct before consequences I can't even imagine come crashing down on my head. But I can't move. I can't speak. I can barely breathe as those storm cloud eyes study me with an intensity that makes me feel like he's reading every secret I've ever kept, every fear I've ever harbored, every dream I've ever been too afraid to voice. He doesn't look angry. That's what terrifies me most. If he were angry, I could understand it. If he were outraged at finding a half-blood nobody in his private chambers, in his arms, I would know what to expect. But he's calm. Unnaturally calm. He looks at me like he's solving a puzzle, like I'm a mystery he's determined to unravel, like my presence here makes a kind of sense that I can't begin to comprehend. "You're awake," he says, and his voice is like thunder rolling across distant mountains, deep, resonant, filled with a power that vibrates through my bones. Good. We have much to discuss. I want to ask him what happened. I want to demand to know how I got here, why I'm in his arms, what any of this means. But the words stick in my throat because I'm starting to remember fragments of something that feels like a dream but can't be. The ceremony. The chanting reaching a crescendo. A surge of magic so powerful it made the air itself crack and shimmer. And then nothing. Darkness. And waking up here. Eldric shifts, setting me gently on a chaise lounge covered in deep blue velvet. He moves with a grace that shouldn't be possible for someone so large, so powerful. When he steps back, giving me space to breathe, I realize I'm trembling. Not from cold. The room is warm, a fire crackling in a fireplace large enough to roast an entire elk. I'm trembling from shock, from confusion, from the sheer impossibility of my current situation. I don't understand. I finally manage to whisper, my voice sounding small and broken in this vast chamber. How did I? Why am I? The ceremony, Eldric says, his tone matter-of-fact, as if this explains everything. It chose you. Those 3 words land like stones dropping into still water, sending ripples of implications spreading out in all directions. The ceremony chose me. The mating ceremony, that ancient rite that's supposed to identify true mates through magic older than memory itself. The ceremony that powerful alphas use to find their destined partners. That ceremony chose me. A half-blood. A nobody. Someone who can't even shift. That's impossible, I say, and I can hear the edge of hysteria creeping into my voice. I'm not. I can't be. There's been a mistake. Eldric's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in those storm cloud eyes. Something that might be amusement, or might be frustration, or might be something else entirely. The ceremony does not make mistakes, he says. The magic is ancient, precise. It seeks out the bonds that exist beyond bloodline, beyond power, beyond everything we think defines us. And it brought you to me. The weight of his words is crushing. I can feel them pressing down on me, demanding that I accept a reality I'm not prepared to face. The pendant at my throat suddenly feels hot against my skin, like it's reacting to the magic in this room, to the presence of the Alpha King, to something I don't understand. But I'm half-blood. I protest, desperate for him to see reason, to recognize the mistake that must have been made. I don't have a wolf. I can't shift. I'm not from any of the great families. I'm nobody. I don't belong here. Your bloodline is irrelevant, Eldric says, and there's an edge to his voice now, a hint of the absolute authority he wields. Your shifting ability is irrelevant. What matters is what I sense when I look at you, what the ceremony recognized. There's power in you, Kendra. Hidden, perhaps.
Dormant, certainly.
But power nonetheless.
He knows my name.
Of course he knows my name. The ceremony would have told him everything about me in that moment of magical connection. And hearing it on his lips sends a shiver down my spine that I can't quite interpret. Fear? Anticipation? Something darker and more complicated? I need to leave, I say, trying to stand up, trying to reclaim some semblance of control over a situation that has spiraled so far beyond my comprehension that I can barely process it. Mira will be worried. The ceremony. I need to go back. The ceremony is over, Eldric says, not moving to stop me, but somehow blocking my path anyway with the sheer force of his presence. And you cannot leave. Not yet. The council must be informed. Protocols must be followed. And you. He pauses, studying me with those ancient eyes. You must understand what has happened here tonight. The council. The word sends ice flooding through my veins. The Werewolf Council is made up of the most powerful alphas from every major clan. They are the political elite, the power brokers, the arbiters of tradition and law. And they will never accept me. Never accept a half-blood nobody as the Alpha King's mate. The very idea is absurd, offensive, probably grounds for some kind of political upheaval I can't even begin to imagine. As if summoned by my thoughts, there's a knock at the door. Not a tentative knock, but a commanding one. The knock of people who are used to having doors open for them immediately. Eldric's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Enter, he says, his voice carrying that tone of absolute authority that makes obedience not just expected but inevitable. The door opens and 5 people sweep into the room. I know immediately who they are. Council members, each representing one of the great clans. Their power fills the space, making it feel suddenly crowded despite the chamber's vast size. They move with the confidence of those who have never been told no, who have never encountered an obstacle they couldn't overcome through force or influence or sheer political maneuvering. And then they see me, sitting on the Alpha King's chaise lounge, wearing my simple green dress, clutching my grandmother's pendant like a lifeline. The change in their expressions is instantaneous.
Shock.
Confusion. And then, as they process what my presence here must mean, barely concealed disgust. Your Majesty, says the woman at the front of the group, her voice dripping with false politeness that barely masks her outrage. We came as soon as we heard about the ceremony's unusual outcome. But surely there has been some mistake. There has been no mistake, Counselor Vera, Eldric says, his tone brooking no argument. The ceremony has chosen. As is tradition, we must respect its decision. Respect. Another council member, a man with iron-gray hair and cold blue eyes, practically spits the word. Your Majesty, with all due respect, this girl is half-blood. She has no shifting ability, no pack affiliation, no lineage worth mentioning. She cannot possibly be your mate. Each word is like a knife finding the spaces between my ribs. Because he's right. Everything he's saying is objectively true. I am all of those things, half-blood, powerless, nobody. And the fact that Eldric is defending me, that he's standing between me and their judgment, only makes it worse somehow. Because I don't deserve his protection. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve any of this. Counselor Marcus, Eldric says, and there's ice in his voice now, a cold fury that makes the temperature in the room seem to drop. You will speak of my mate with respect, or you will not speak at all. Is that understood? The silence that follows is deafening. Marcus's face goes through a series of complicated expressions, shock, anger, and finally, grudging submission. Because regardless of how much he might hate this situation, Eldric is the Alpha King. His word is law. And challenging him directly is not just foolish, it's suicidal. Of course, Your Majesty, Marcus finally says, though every word sounds like it's being dragged out of him against his will. I meant no disrespect. But the council has concerns. Legitimate concerns about the political implications of this match. Your concerns are noted, Eldric says. And they will be addressed. Through the proper channels. Through the trials. The trials. The word hangs in the air like a sword suspended over my head, ready to fall. I've heard of the trials, though I never thought I'd have reason to care about them. They're ancient tests designed to prove the worthiness of potential mates to the Alpha King. 3 trials, each more challenging than the last, each designed to push the participant to their absolute limits. Physical endurance, mental fortitude, and finally, the trial of the heart, a test of emotional and spiritual strength that breaks most who attempt it. The trials, Vera says, and I can hear the satisfaction in her voice. Yes, of course. Tradition demands it. If this girl truly is your mate, she will prove it through the trials. If. That single word contains all of her doubt, all of her certainty that I will fail. And looking at the faces of the other council members, I see the same conviction reflected back at me. They're not worried about the trials. They're looking forward to them, because they're certain I'll fail. Certain that the trials will prove what they already know, that I don't belong here, that the ceremony made a mistake, that I am not worthy to stand beside the Alpha King. And the worst part? I agree with them. I don't belong here. I'm not worthy. And whatever the trials throw at me, I'm almost certainly going to fail. The trials will begin tomorrow, Eldric says, his tone making it clear that this is not up for debate. Kendra will be given proper quarters, proper clothing, and proper preparation time. She will face the trials as is her right, and we will all accept the outcome, whatever it may be. The council members exchange glances, communicating in that silent way powerful people have of coordinating their positions without speaking a word. Finally, Vera inclines her head in a gesture that's more challenge than acquiescence. As you command, Your Majesty, she says. We will make the necessary arrangements. And we will be watching. Very carefully. The threat implicit in those words is clear. They're not just going to let me attempt the trials. They're going to scrutinize every moment, looking for any excuse to declare me unworthy, to invalidate the ceremony's choice, to remove me from Eldric's side and restore what they see as the natural order. After they leave, the silence in the room is heavy, oppressive. I can feel Eldric's eyes on me, but I can't bring myself to look at him. The reality of what I'm facing is crashing down on me with crushing force. The trials. Tomorrow. Tests designed to break experienced warriors, skilled diplomats, powerful shifters. And I'm going to face them with no training, no preparation, no abilities beyond stubbornness, and the faint hope that my grandmother's pendant means something more than I understand. Kendra, Eldric says, his voice gentler now that we're alone. Look at me. I force myself to meet those storm cloud eyes, expecting to see pity or doubt or some reflection of the council's contempt. But what I see instead is something I don't know how to interpret.
Certainty.
Absolute, unshakable certainty. You can do this, he says. I know you can. The ceremony didn't choose you by accident. There is strength in you that you haven't discovered yet. The trials will help you find it. How can you be so sure? I ask, and I hate how my voice cracks on the words, how vulnerable I sound, how desperate for reassurance I am. Because I've lived for centuries, Eldric says. I've seen countless people attempt the trials. I've watched warriors fail and scholars succeed. I've learned that power comes in many forms, and bloodline is the least important of them. The ceremony saw something in you that transcends your lack of shifting ability. And He pauses, and for the first time, I see uncertainty flicker across his face. I feel it too. When I look at you, when I'm near you, there's a pull, a connection. Something I haven't felt in all my years of existence. That means something, Kendra. It means everything. His words should comfort me. They should fill me with confidence and determination. But instead, they terrify me. Because what if he's wrong? What if the pull he feels is some kind of magical mistake, some glitch in the ancient ceremony? What if I fail the trials and prove that I was never meant to be here, never worthy of standing beside him? But I don't voice these fears. Instead, I nod, trying to project a confidence I absolutely do not feel. I'll try, I say. That's all I can promise. I'll try. That's all I ask, Eldric says, and there's something in his expression that makes my chest tighten.
Hope, maybe.
Or faith. Or something even more dangerous. That night, I'm shown to quarters that are more luxurious than anywhere I've ever been. A bedroom with a bed so large it could sleep 5 people, hung with curtains of deep crimson silk. A bathing room with a tub carved from a single piece of marble, filled with water that stays perpetually warm through magic I don't understand. Windows that overlook forests and mountains stretching to the horizon, a view of a world far larger and more beautiful than the small village I've always known. I should sleep. I should rest and prepare for whatever tomorrow brings. But sleep won't come. I lie in that enormous bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with thoughts that chase each other in endless circles.
The ceremony.
The council. The trials. Eldric's eyes. The pull he claims to feel. The power he insists is hidden inside me. My hand finds my grandmother's pendant, and I hold it tight, feeling its familiar weight against my palm. I don't understand. I whisper into the darkness. I don't understand any of this. If you're watching somehow, if there's any truth to what Eldric says about hidden power, I need help. I need to understand what I'm supposed to do. The pendant warms slightly against my skin, but whether that's magic or just my imagination, I can't tell. No answers come. No sudden revelation illuminates my confusion. There's just the darkness and my fear and the knowledge that tomorrow I'll face trials designed to break me. But as I finally drift toward an uneasy sleep, one thought circles back again and again. Eldric believed in me. The Alpha King, the most powerful being in our world, looked at me, a half-blood nobody, and saw something worth defending, worth fighting for, worth believing in. And maybe, just maybe, that belief is worth holding on to. Even if I don't understand it. Even if I can't quite trust it. Even if tomorrow brings failure and humiliation and the confirmation of everything the council thinks about me. Because, what's the alternative? Giving up without trying? Walking away from this impossible situation and returning to my simple, small, powerless life? Spending the rest of my existence wondering what might have happened if I'd just been brave enough to face the trials?
No.
That's not who I am. That's not who my grandmother raised me to be. She gave me this pendant, this legacy, this connection to a power I don't understand. She told me that when the time came, I would understand. And maybe this is that time. Maybe this is when I finally discover what she meant, what she saw in me that I've never been able to see in myself. The trials begin at dawn. I'm awakened by servants who dress me in clothing designed for the tests ahead, practical leather pants, a fitted shirt that allows freedom of movement, boots that feel oddly perfect on my feet despite having been made for someone else. They style my hair, pulling it back in a braid that keeps it out of my face. They offer me breakfast, but I can't eat. My stomach is too tight with anticipation and fear. When I'm escorted to the trial grounds, I find Eldric waiting. He's dressed in formal robes that mark his status, deep blue embroidered with silver, with the symbol of his kingship displayed prominently on his chest. But it's his expression that catches me. He looks worried. Not about the trials themselves, but about me, about what I'm going to face. Remember, he says, stepping close enough that I can feel the heat of his body, the pull of that mysterious connection he described. The trials test more than just physical strength. They test character, determination, the willingness to face your fears and move through them anyway. You have those qualities, Kendra. I've seen them in you. Trust yourself. Before I can respond, the council arrives. All 5 of them, dressed in their ceremonial robes, their faces carefully neutral, but their eyes betraying their anticipation. They're expecting a show. They're expecting me to fail spectacularly, to prove them right, to validate their worldview where bloodline and power are all that matter. The first trial, Vera announces, her voice carrying across the assembled crowd, because of course there's a crowd, because of course my potential humiliation needs to be witnessed by as many people as possible, tests physical endurance and mental fortitude. The candidate will navigate the labyrinth of thorns, find the sacred flame at its center, and return with the flame still burning. The labyrinth changes constantly, responding to the fears and doubts of those who enter it. Most who attempt it never find the center. Those who do often cannot find their way back out. A labyrinth that changes, that responds to fear, that traps people inside their own doubts and insecurities. Of course, that's the first trial. Of course, they would choose something specifically designed to exploit every weakness I have. But I step forward anyway, because backing down now would be worse than failure. At least if I try and fail, I can say I was brave enough to attempt it. At least I won't spend the rest of my life wondering what might have happened if I just had the courage to take that first step. The entrance to the labyrinth is a massive archway carved from black stone, covered in vines with thorns as long as my fingers. The moment I step through it, the world changes. The sounds of the crowd fade. The morning light dims. I'm surrounded by walls of thorny vines that tower over my head, blocking out the sky, creating a green-shadowed tunnel that stretches ahead of me in both directions. I choose right. Not for any particular reason, just instinct, just the need to move, to do something rather than standing frozen at the entrance. The path twists and turns, branching off in multiple directions. I try to keep track of my route, try to remember the turns I take, but within minutes I'm hopelessly disoriented. Left, right, straight ahead, it all looks the same, endless corridors of thorns that seem to shift when I'm not looking directly at them. And then the whispers start. Voices that sound like they're coming from the walls themselves, from the thorns, from somewhere deep inside my own head. You don't belong here. Half-blood. Powerless. Nobody. The ceremony made a mistake. You're going to fail. Everyone knows it. Even him. Especially him. He's just being kind. Pitying the broken girl. He doesn't really want you. You'll never find the center. You'll die here, lost and alone, and everyone will forget you existed. The words cut deeper than the thorns could. Because they're not just random cruelties, they're my own fears given voice, my own doubts weaponized against me. Every insecurity I've ever had, every moment I've felt worthless or powerless or utterly alone, they're all here in this labyrinth, surrounding me, suffocating me. But I keep walking. Because what else can I do? I put one foot in front of the other, ignoring the whispers, fighting down the panic that threatens to overwhelm me. My grandmother's pendant grows warm against my chest, and I focus on that warmth, using it as an anchor, a reminder that I'm more than these doubts, more than these fears. Hours pass. Or maybe it's days. Time feels strange in the labyrinth, elastic and unreliable. I'm exhausted, my feet aching, my throat dry, my body trembling with fatigue. But then, finally, I see it. A glow ahead, warm and golden, cutting through the green shadows like a promise. The center of the labyrinth is a clearing, perfectly circular, with a stone pedestal in the middle. On the pedestal burns a flame that gives off no smoke, no heat beyond a gentle warmth. The sacred flame. The thing I'm supposed to retrieve and carry back through the labyrinth to prove I've completed the trial. I reach for it, half expecting some final trap, some last cruel twist. But the flame comes to me easily, settling into my cupped palms like it belongs there. And the moment I touch it, everything changes. The whispers stop. The oppressive weight of the labyrinth's magic lifts. And I can actually see the path back to the entrance. Not because the labyrinth has become simple, but because holding the flame has given me clarity, has shown me that the real challenge was never the physical maze, but the mental one. The doubts and fears that made me question every turn, second-guess every decision. The journey back is still difficult. The path is long, and I'm tired beyond words. But I make it. Step by step, turn by turn, I navigate back through the thorny corridors, the sacred flames still burning in my hands, until finally I step through the archway and back into the morning light. The crowd's reaction is audible. Gasps of surprise, murmurs of disbelief. Because apparently, they really didn't expect me to succeed. They expected me to fail, to get lost, to give up. But here I am, holding the sacred flame, having completed the first trial. Eldric's face breaks into a smile that transforms him. For a moment, he doesn't look like the ancient Alpha King, weighted down by centuries of responsibility. He looks almost young, almost vulnerable, almost human. And the pride in his eyes makes something warm bloom in my chest despite my exhaustion. But the council's expressions are very different. Vera looks like she's tasting something sour. Marcus's jaw is clenched so tight, I can see the muscles jumping. The others exchange glances that speak volumes about their displeasure at this unexpected outcome. The first trial is complete, Vera announces, her tone making it clear how much she wishes she could say otherwise. The candidate has succeeded. Tomorrow, the second trial will commence. I'm escorted back to my quarters, where servants immediately attend to me, helping me out of my torn clothing, treating the scratches from thorns that managed to catch me despite my caution, bringing me food and water. I consume both mechanically, my mind still caught in the labyrinth, still processing what I experienced there. Eldric comes to see me that evening. He doesn't knock, just enters like he has every right to, which I suppose as the Alpha King in his own palace he does. But there's a hesitancy to him as he approaches where I'm sitting by the window, looking out at the darkening forest. "You did well today," he says, settling into the chair across from me. "Better than well. Most candidates take twice as long to navigate the labyrinth if they manage it at all. And the clarity with which you found your way back, that was impressive." I just held onto the flame and walked, I say, too tired for false modesty or elaborate explanations. The path revealed itself. "Because you trusted yourself," Eldric says. "Because you didn't let the doubts consume you. That's the real test of the labyrinth, Kendra. Not whether you can navigate a maze, but whether you can navigate your own mind, your own fears. And you passed." One trial down, I say, unable to keep the weariness from my voice. 2 to go. "The second trial is different," Eldric says, and there's something in his tone that makes me look at him sharply. "It tests mental fortitude in a different way. It will show you visions, possibilities, paths your life could take. Some beautiful, some terrible. And you'll have to choose which path is true, which future is real." Many candidates lose themselves in the visions, unable to distinguish between what is and what could be. "Sounds delightful," I mutter, and to my surprise, Eldric laughs. It's a rusty sound like he doesn't do it often, but genuine nonetheless.
"It won't be easy," he admits.
"But I have faith in you. More faith than you have in yourself, perhaps. But that will change. I can see it already. The way you're starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, you can do this." He's right, and I hate that he's right. Because some small part of me is starting to believe. Starting to think that maybe I'm not just a half-blood nobody stumbling through trials I'm destined to fail. Maybe I'm something more. Something stronger. Something worth the faith Eldric seems determined to place in me. "Why?" I ask, the question escaping before I can stop it. "Why do you believe in me?
You don't know me. You met me for the first time last night.
How can you be so certain that I can do this?" Eldric is quiet for a long moment, his storm cloud eyes studying me with that intensity that makes me feel like he's seeing straight through to my soul. "Because I'm lonely," he finally says, and the raw honesty in his voice steals my breath. "I've been alive for centuries, Kendra. Centuries of ruling, of making decisions that affect thousands of lives, of standing alone at the top of the power structure with no one to truly share it with. I've had relationships, alliances, even love, in the distant past. But nothing that lasted. Nothing that felt like this." "Like what?" I whisper. "Like coming home," he says simply. "When the ceremony brought you to me, when I held you in my arms, it felt like something clicked into place. Something I didn't even know was missing. The pull between us isn't just magic, Kendra. It's recognition. It's two souls that are meant to understand each other, to support each other, to face whatever comes together rather than alone. His words should sound romantic. They should make my heart flutter and my breath catch. And they do, but they also terrify me. Because what if he's wrong? What if this pull he feels is one-sided? What if I fail the trials and prove that the ceremony really did make a mistake? Get some rest, Eldric says, rising from his chair. Tomorrow will be challenging, but I know you can face it. And whatever you see in the visions, remember, the truth is what you choose to make it. The future isn't written. It's created, one choice at a time. He leaves, and I'm alone with my thoughts once again. But this time, they're not just fears and doubts. They're also questions. About Eldric, about the pull between us, about what it would mean to choose this life, this path, this impossible future as the Alpha King's mate. The second trial begins the next morning in a chamber deep within the palace. It's circular, with walls made of mirrors that reflect back infinite versions of myself, each slightly different, each a possibility of who I could be. In the center of the room is a crystal sphere, glowing with an inner light that pulses like a heartbeat. The trial of visions, Marcus announces, and there's anticipation in his voice. He thinks this will be where I fail, where the mental challenge proves too much for someone of my limited experience. Place your hands on the sphere. The visions will come. When you've seen what you need to see, when you've chosen your path, the trial will end. If you can distinguish truth from possibility, you will pass. If not, he shrugs. The trial will keep you until you either succeed or surrender. I approach the sphere, my reflection fragmenting across the surrounding mirrors. For a moment, I see myself 1,000 times over, scared, determined, doubtful, strong. All the contradictions of who I am, displayed in infinite variations. I place my hands on the crystal. The world explodes into light. I'm standing in my cottage at the edge of the village, but it's different. Warmer. Filled with the sounds of children laughing. I turn and see them, 3 children, each with my eyes and someone else's silver hair. They're playing by the fire while a figure that looks like an older version of me watches them with a smile that speaks of deep contentment. This is a future where I said yes. Where I embraced the mate bond, became Eldric's queen, built a family with him. It's beautiful. Perfect. Everything I never dared to dream about. But then the vision shifts. I'm in the same cottage, but alone. The children are gone. The warmth is gone. I'm old, gray-haired, bent over with age that should never have touched a werewolf's mate. And I'm alone, because in this vision I failed the trials. Returned to my simple life. Lived and died without ever knowing what I could have become. Another shift. I'm standing in a grand throne room, wearing a crown that feels like a weight trying to crush me. Eldric is beside me, but there's distance between us. We're partners in politics, in ruling, but the warmth from the first vision is gone. We chose duty over love, obligation over connection. And I can see it in both our eyes, the wondering about what might have been, if we'd just been brave enough to choose differently. Vision after vision cascades over me. Futures where I'm happy, where I'm miserable, where I'm powerful, where I'm broken, where I choose love, where I choose safety, where I choose nothing at all, and let life happen to me rather than making active decisions about my own destiny. And through it all, I hear Eldric's words from last night. The future isn't written. It's created, one choice at a time. The truth crashes over me with the force of revelation. These visions aren't predictions. They're possibilities. And the trial isn't about choosing which one is real. It's about choosing which one I want to make real. It's about deciding who I want to be, what kind of life I want to build, what risks I'm willing to take in pursuit of something that matters. I pull my hands from the sphere, gasping as the visions release me. The council members are watching me with varying expressions, surprised that I'm conscious, that I haven't been lost in the visions, that I'm still myself and not broken by the weight of infinite possibilities. I've seen enough, I say, my voice stronger than I expected. I've made my choice. And what did you choose? Vera asks, her tone making it clear she expects me to announce my surrender, my decision to walk away from the trials and return to my simple life. I choose the future I create, I say. Not the one that's given to me, not the one that's safest, not the one that requires the least of me. I choose to be brave enough to build something worth having, even if it means risking everything. The words are a declaration, a commitment, a line drawn in the sand. And judging by Eldric's expression, wonder and hope and something that looks dangerously like love, he understands exactly what I'm saying. The second trial is complete, Marcus says grudgingly. The candidate has passed. Tomorrow, the final trial. The trial of the heart. That night, Eldric visits me again. But this time, there's an urgency to his presence, an energy that wasn't there before. One more trial, he says. One more test, and this will all be decided. But Kendra, I need you to know something before you face it. What? The trial of the heart is the most dangerous, he says. It will show you your deepest fears, your worst insecurities, your most painful wounds. It will force you to confront everything you've ever tried to hide from, even from yourself. And it will make you choose between protecting yourself and opening yourself to connection, between safety and vulnerability, between the walls you've built and the possibility of something real. You're saying I might not pass, I say quietly. I'm saying that passing might cost you more than you expect, Eldric says. But I'm also saying that I'll be there. Not physically. The trial must be faced alone. But I'll be there in spirit, in intention, in every moment of faith I have in your ability to survive it. He steps closer, close enough that I can feel the heat of his body, smell the scent of pine and winter frost that seems to cling to him. Whatever you see in that trial, whatever fears it conjures, remember this. I want you. Not because of some magical ceremony, not because of political necessity, not because of anything other than the fact that when I look at you, I see someone who makes me want to be better than I am. Someone who makes centuries of loneliness feel like they might finally end. Someone I'm willing to fight for, to defend, to stand beside no matter what comes. And then he does something that stops my heart. He leans down and presses his lips to mine in a kiss that's gentle and fierce all at once. It lasts only a moment, but in that moment, I feel the truth of everything he said. The pull between us isn't just his imagination or my desperation. It's real. It's powerful. It's something worth fighting for. When he pulls back, his storm cloud eyes are blazing with emotion. Pass the trial, Kendra, he says. Not for me, but for yourself. Because you deserve to know what it feels like to choose your own destiny, to claim your own power, to stop letting fear decide who you get to be. The final trial begins at sunset. I'm brought to a chamber carved from black stone, empty except for a single chair in the center and a door on the opposite wall. The door is covered in symbols that glow with a faint red light, pulsing like a heartbeat. The trial of the heart, Vera announces, and for once, her voice holds something other than contempt. Respect, maybe, or fear. Beyond that door lies everything you've ever feared, everything you've ever tried to hide from. You must walk through it, face what waits on the other side, and emerge whole. If you can do that, the trials are complete. If not, she doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't need to. I approach the door, my hand trembling as I reach for the handle. The pendant at my throat is burning hot now, like it's trying to tell me something, trying to protect me, or warn me, or give me some message I don't know how to interpret. I open the door and step through. The first thing I see is myself. But not the self I am now, the self I was. Young, before my grandmother died, before I fully understood what being a half-blood meant. And she's crying. That young version of me is sobbing, curled up in a corner, while voices swirl around her. Broken. Worthless. A mistake. She'll never shift. Never be whole. Never belong. Why bother living when you're not even really one of us? I want to look away, but I can't. Because this is my deepest fear made manifest. The belief that I'm fundamentally broken, that there's something wrong with me that can never be fixed, that I'm destined to be alone and powerless forever. But then another voice cuts through the cruelty. My grandmother's voice. You are more than they see, more than they can understand. Your power is different, but it's real. And someday you'll understand. The scene shifts. I'm older now, watching as Mira dances at a festival, surrounded by friends and potential mates, while I sit alone in the shadows. The loneliness is crushing, a physical weight on my chest that makes it hard to breathe. This is what I've always feared, that I'll spend my entire life on the outside looking in, watching others have the love and connection and belonging that's forever out of my reach. But even as I watch, I see myself stand up. See myself choose to leave the festival, to walk home alone, to survive another night of isolation. And I realize something. I've been surviving this fear my entire life. I've been living with loneliness and somehow, impossibly, I've kept going. That takes strength. Maybe more strength than I've ever given myself credit for. The scene shifts again. And this time, I see Eldric. But he's looking at me with disgust, with disappointment, with the realization that the ceremony made a terrible mistake. You were never meant to be my mate, this vision of him says. I was desperate, lonely, willing to believe in anything. But you're not enough. You'll never be enough. This is the fear that cuts deepest of all. The fear that everything Eldric has said, every moment of connection we've shared, is just an illusion that will shatter the moment he truly sees me. The fear that I'm not capable of being loved, not worthy of being chosen, not enough to satisfy the needs of someone as powerful and ancient as the Alpha King. But then I remember his kiss. The way his eyes blazed with emotion when he looked at me. The absolute certainty in his voice when he said I could pass the trials. And I realized something crucial. This vision is a lie. Not because Eldric couldn't decide I'm not enough. That's always a possibility in any relationship. But because I'm deciding right now that his opinion, while important, isn't the final word on my worth. I am enough. Not because someone else says so, but because I say so. Because I've survived everything life has thrown at me and I'm still here, still fighting, still brave enough to face trials designed to break me. Because I choose to be enough, regardless of what anyone else thinks. The visions crumble around me. The door appears again, but this time it's on the other side of the chamber. I walk toward it, each step feeling lighter than the last. Because I understand now what the trial was testing. Not whether I'm fearless, everyone has fears. But whether I'm brave enough to acknowledge my fears and move forward anyway. Whether I can look at my worst insecurities and choose to believe in my own worth despite them. I step through the door and emerge back into the trial chamber. The council is there, Eldric is there, and judging by their expressions, I've been in the trial of the heart much longer than it felt. The sun has risen again. I was in there all night, facing my fears in what felt like hours but measured in real-world time as something much longer. The trials are complete, Vera says, and there's no triumph in her voice now, just weary acceptance. The candidate has passed all 3 tests. The ceremony's choice is validated. Eldric crosses the chamber in 3 long strides and pulls me into his arms. He's trembling, I realize. Actually trembling with relief and emotion. You did it, he whispers against my hair. I knew you could, but watching you face those trials, not being able to help, it was agony. I pull back just enough to look into his storm cloud eyes. I did it for me, I say, because I need him to understand. Not just for you, not just to pass the trials. I did it because I needed to prove to myself that I'm stronger than my fears. That I'm worth choosing, worth believing in, worth fighting for. I know, Eldric says, and his smile is brilliant. That's why it worked. That's why you succeeded where so many others fail. Because you found your worth in yourself, not in anyone else's validation. The council approaches, their expressions ranging from grudging respect to outright annoyance at having their expectations overturned. But they bow one by one, acknowledging what they can no longer deny. I am Eldric's chosen mate, validated by the trials, proven worthy by ancient. Tests that care nothing for bloodline or shifting ability. What happens now? I ask Eldric later, when we're alone in his private chambers, sitting by the fire and talking in voices that don't need to be guarded anymore. Now we face the future together, he says. There will be challenges. Political complications from my taking a half-blood mate. Enemies who will see you as a weakness to exploit. Traditions that will need to be re-examined. But we'll face all of it together. As partners. As equals. As mates, I say, testing out the word, feeling its weight and its promise. As mates, Eldric agrees. If that's what you choose. Because despite everything, the ceremony, the trials, the validation, the final choice is still yours, Kendra. I want you to choose me because you want to, not because you feel obligated or because magic says we're destined. I want you to choose this life because it's the one you want to build. And that's when I truly understand what he's offering me. Not just a position as his queen, not just power and status and the end of my isolation, but a partnership built on mutual choice, mutual respect, mutual understanding. A future where I'm not just filling a role, but actively creating something meaningful with someone who sees my worth. I choose you, I say, and the words feel like a vow, a promise, a commitment that means more than any ceremony or trial could. I choose us. I choose to build this future together, to face the challenges that come, to keep choosing you every day, even when it's difficult. Eldric's eyes blaze with that emotion I can now name love. Pure, uncomplicated, absolute love. Then I make you a promise, he says. I promise to protect you, to honor you, to stand beside you as your equal in all things. I promise to face the future with you, to build something beautiful from the bond we share, to love you not because magic dictates it, but because I choose to, every single day. The pendant at my throat grows warm one final time, and I understand at last what my grandmother meant. This was my legacy, not just the pendant itself, but what it represented. The strength to face my fears, to believe in my own worth, to choose a future that demands everything of me and promises nothing but the chance to build something meaningful with my own hands. Outside the window, the moon rises over the forests and mountains of Eldric's kingdom. Our kingdom now. And while I know the challenges ahead will be immense, while I know there will be days when I question myself and my choices and whether I'm truly enough for this role, I also know that I'm ready to face them. Because I've proven to myself that I'm stronger than I knew. That my worth isn't defined by my bloodline or my shifting ability or anyone else's opinion. That I'm capable of creating my own destiny, one choice at a time. And I choose this. I choose him. I choose us. I choose to be the Alpha King's mate, not because the ceremony said I should, but because when I look at Eldric, I see someone who makes me want to be brave enough to build a future worth living. And when he looks at me, I finally see myself the way he sees me, not as broken or insufficient, but as someone with unique strengths, hard-won wisdom, and the courage to face trials that would break most people. The future stretches ahead, uncertain and challenging, and full of possibilities. But for the first time in my life, I'm not afraid of it. I'm ready to face it, ready to build it, ready to choose it every single day. And that, more than any trial or ceremony or magical bond, is what makes me worthy to stand beside the Alpha King. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm real. And I'm choosing to be here, choosing to love, choosing to be vulnerable enough to build something beautiful with someone who sees me and values me and believes in me. That's my power. That's my strength. That's the legacy my grandmother left me. The choice. Always, always the choice. And I choose this future. With all my heart.